This is Columbia Chambers Northeast Connection Small Business Breakout for the month of May. Typically, we have the Small Business Breakout, which is held in proximity to downtown Columbia, but we also have the Northeast Connection to be able to establish a presence for business in Richland Northeast. And because of the virtual sessions that we're having now, we have combined those two to try and deliver an effective message to you guys. Today, we have two great speakers, two of our Small Business Council members. So this is very near and dear to the heart when we have two of our very own presenting. But we want to start out by giving you guys the opportunity to network, to connect the dots, to meet the people that you're seeing in these little boxes on your screen. So what I'll do is prompt you guys with a question. We'll go into breakout rooms, have a little discussion, but the goal of this is to connect. So connect with the people that you're in the breakout room with, add them on LinkedIn, get their email address, get their contact info, and see how you might be able to add value to each other. I want to go kind of in a different direction instead of how has COVID-19 affected you? How is this affecting you? I think we all know that it's affecting us. One way it's affecting me is if I take my hat off, I look like I got shocked by electricity because my hair is so long right now. So I apologize for the hat. But what is something that you're excited about doing again? I know there's a lot of talk about, well, and one of the things we're talking about today is how can we open back up safely, but what are you excited to be able to do again? One thing for me is I'm really excited about being able to sit down and have coffee with someone, have some FaceTime with people again, instead of at FaceTime on a screen. I'm really excited for that. So that's our question. We'll go into a breakout room here for a couple minutes. Just make sure you connect with the people and let us know what you're excited about doing in the next 30, 60, 90 days as business and life goes back to, or gets back to this new normal.
It keeps muting me.
You're all sitting in different places now.
Yeah.
Morning, Henry.
Good morning. How are you, Susan?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing well.
Good.
There's Ron. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron. How are you?
How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all had some quality discussion. I know we did. Just want to try. The point is to try and connect, right? So I hope that you had some type of valuable connection that you made. That's what the chamber's all about, is to connect the people with the people that you need to connect with, right? To make those connections, and that's what we're trying to get back to, is to get back to that sense of normalcy of being able to provide the opportunity to put you in position to grow your business. So that's what we are looking forward to doing from here on out. Definitely stay tuned for some stuff for our next breakout. We're really trying to get back to our roots, so to say, and reconnect Columbia. I'm going to pass it over to Audra and Henry for a second. If y'all have any chamber updates that you want to give everybody before we get started.
Audra, do you know what's going on? Anything that I don't know? You probably do.
Yeah, just like Jared said, look out for our breakout next month. We're also continuing with our weekly webinars. Henry, do you know who the next speaker will be for our next webinar we're hosting?
I'm not sure, Susan. Go ahead.
Tomorrow it's 11 o'clock and it's on mental health, staying mentally fit while you are home with the COVID. And we have a lady coming in from LRADAC, which is the Drug and Alcohol Prevention Program. So should be very interesting. Starts at 11 o'clock. Registration is on the web. And so you can sign up and here are some tips on not only for these times, but for times that will apply throughout your life, probably. And then we also, let me go ahead and, while you're asking about the chamber, on May 26th at 2 o'clock, we have a military outreach group meeting that will be held by Zoom. We have General Beagle from Fort Jackson, General McCarty from the South Carolina National Guard, General Grimsley from the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs, and David Amar is going to be there from the VA. So hopefully we'll have, we have prepared for up to 500 people. We'd love to get that many people. So go to the chamber website and register, please, for that and participate. It'll be about 45 minutes. And then Henry, I want to go ahead and plug the June 3rd Issues Forum on the first Tuesday in June. We're going to be doing our Issues Forum, and we're hopefully scheduling the candidates for Richland County Council. So that will be very interesting. There's a lot of competition this year. We have some great incumbents who are out there, and there are some good challengers. So hopefully they'll be able to share their business perspectives on things going on in the county, and we can make wise and informed decisions.
And
Awesome.
Susan, will that be live, or will that be, or will we be present for that, or is
it will be
that
live,
virtual?
Live virtual.
Virtual.
Okay.
It's a Zoom meeting.
Okay, just making sure. You almost got me excited. I was like, wait, we can come back. We can hang out with each other again.
No, we're going to all be live, but we'll be on a Zoom conference.
Yeah. Okay. You crushed my dreams. I got so excited. I was like, yes.
Sorry, but you can
No
come down
worries.
to the stay 6 feet apart. We'll talk.
We can definitely do that.
We have
Okay,
enough space here in our new location. There's lots of room.
Yeah, for those of you guys that didn't know, the chamber has moved the corner of, is it Lady and Sumter Street?
Lady and Sumter, 1225 Lady.
Really excited about that location.
Woohoo! It's really nice. We're really excited.
Let's go ahead and, sorry, Audra. Let's go ahead and get things started. I want to introduce our two panelists today. First person that I want to introduce also is the chairman of Diplomats. He's with Richland County, Bryant Davis. Bryant, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then also fill us in on diplomats and how people can get involved and how that works at the chamber.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. My name is Bryant Davis. I work with Richland County Government, and I work in a department at Richland County that's called Government and Community Services. And so we're a proactive outreach of the county. And so we focus a lot of our time and effort on getting involved in the community. And so whether that's facilitating improved community outreach, whether that's helping people get access to administration of various government services and resolving community issues, we do a lot of that. And so that entails a lot of committees, as an example, like the Small Business Council, but also just getting plugged in as much as we possibly can. And so that kind of rolls into my role as a diplomat with the chamber as well. The diplomats are an extension of the chamber. We play a big role in helping to connect with partners, being there to help them understand the different things they have access to. And we're very, very thankful to have people like Audra on the chamber staff that help us navigate that and help us with connecting partners. And I think a big part of that, and I'm sure a lot of you know, as you learn about all the things that exist at the chamber that you can get involved with and do, it can be somewhat overwhelming. And so it's great to have volunteer diplomats like us that are there to kind of help you walk through the path of that. So.
Definitely. I think that there's a lot of ways that the chamber adds value. And one of those ways is that there's different ways for you to plug in. You know, it's not just this is what you can do with the chamber and you have one option. There's multiple ways that you can get involved, and a lot of those ways are specific to different industries. So it could really be very easy to coordinate with your schedule, how you can get involved and how you can try and add value, not just to chamber partners, but to your business as well. Second presenter, she is with City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Ayesha Driggers, and she is actually involved along with another council member, James Shad, on the Small Business Task Force to try and reopen the city and county. So I'm going to kick it over to Ayesha, allow her to introduce herself, and she also has a little bit that she wants to share with us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Ayesha Driggers, like Jared said. I'm in the Office of Business Opportunities at the City of Columbia. I'm primarily responsible for our training and technical assistance. So definitely our new normal requires us to think a little bit more creative about how to provide those trainings and technical assistance. But we're navigating that right now. Some other responsibilities of our office are commercial lending. We provide lending to City of Columbia business owners. We do what used to be the facade program to provide interior and exterior improvements to the physical businesses within the city. And then we also have a supplier diversity department within our division to help make sure that our procurement reflects the makeup of our city. So we encourage the utilization of minority and women-owned, veteran-owned businesses through our procurement process. But today I'm going to talk about some of the actions of our task force committee. The city Mayor Benjamin established a task force so we could determine some of the best methods and strategies to reopen the City of Columbia. And he set up 7 subcommittees. I was on the one for small businesses. So I am going to go over some of those recommendations that were made. As soon as I can figure out how to share my screen, I'm going to get that up. There it is. Does everyone see the first page of the PowerPoint presentation? Excellent, good deal. All right, so like I said, there were several recommendations and we tried to get them all and just consolidate them. The first one was access to the personal protective equipment. and how we can connect employers with vendors that can provide those resources. The South Carolina Department of Commerce was on the task force call, and they recommended sccovid19.org. And I went on that site, and you can put in your information regarding what type of PPE you need, and they can pair you with a vendor that can provide that, because one of the concerns of the small business community was access to that, because everybody needs it right now. So we would definitely want to be a resource to connect those businesses with the vendors. Also, securing additional PPE. The city received a donation of face masks a couple of weeks ago, and within an hour, we completely were out of the face masks that were donated. So that just shows the need. We're trying to see if there's some additional funding where we can purchase some PPE and then make that available to the small business community again. And we usually utilize social media to let the business community know about the availability of that, but it does go super fast. So we're looking for more opportunities to provide that. Also providing guidance from credible resources. There's a lot of information out there, so we just want to make sure we're providing the most up-to-date, credible information from agencies such as the CDC, DHEC, OSHA, SBA, and the U.S. Department of Treasury. Also, we'll continue to link to and share safety and health guidelines from federal, state, and local agencies through social media and our COC website. For example, and I think I have another slide on this. One of the concerns was the forgiveness of the PPP loan. So yesterday we did share the Department of Treasury put out some guidance on the application for that forgiveness, which I know is a concern, and we just want to make sure that we're providing that information to the public. That's just an example of a flyer that we received from OSHA. And we continue to have conversations with OSHA, and we hope to have some webinars in the near future with them. Like I said, an FAQ for federal funding. We're encouraging our small business community to reach out to their CPAs to determine any tax implications of the utilization of the PPP funding. I know I talked to one business that says they were really scared to touch the money because they don't want to be penalized or use it inappropriately. So we just want to make sure that we're providing them information so that they can feel comfortable using that funding because they need it, obviously, but they're scared. So we want to try to address some of those concerns. Also host a series of webinars to assist businesses in COVID-19 related concerns regarding expenses and capital access options. And we want to do some industry specific webinars. For example, the needs of some of our retail shops are going to be different than the barber and cosmetologists. So we want to provide some webinars to that effect to help them specifically to their industry. Also some financial webinars. The city was able to award $1.4 million to 323 businesses pretty quickly, but what we realized was some of our small businesses weren't prepared to answer some of the questions we were asking them regarding profit and loss statements and just the financial infrastructure of their business. So that told us that that's an area that we need to focus some of our upcoming webinars to kind of help them get their financial documents in order. And it's really interesting because right before the COVID-19 pandemic, I was planning a workshop for the beginning of the end of March, specifically to get their financial documents in order. So we just have to figure out how to kind of revisit that training to offer it in a Zoom type setting. But there's definitely a need. I only have a few more. We want to coordinate with agencies such as Fast Forward to work with our small businesses to prepare them to work more effectively in this new normal. And our COC stands for City of Columbia IT department can help us to that effect. Some of the business might have to find a new way to do, whether it be online ordering or some other type of IT specific training they need to better meet the needs of their customers when we have to be socially distant. So we're going to work with them on that. Also conduct citywide testing for businesses. Some of our business community saw that there were some, they're located in the city, but some of their employees were outside of the city limits, and they want to make sure that they have access to testing that may be in the city. So we'll work to do that. And then also help with the messaging to encourage physical, mental, and emotional health awareness. So I thought that was good that I think, is it tomorrow, there's going to be that mental health training, because there's a great need for that. Of course, you need the financial resources and the PPE equipment, but you also need to make sure you're physically and mentally and emotionally healthy to take advantage of those things. So I thought that was some good advice from the subcommittee to focus our attention on providing that too. So that's great. The chamber's already ahead on that one. And then provision of uniform signage and ground decals for our businesses. On the left are some of the COC decals that we already have in production that we'll provide to some of our small business community. And then we also had DISA send us some of their flyers that they're having. I think a uniform message is good when you have reminders that you need to be at least 6 feet apart. Sometimes you forget that, oh yeah, I don't need to be right up on someone as we're used to. So just those universal reminders to stay distant and 6 feet apart. And then these are just some examples. We've been doing research, just looking to see what other areas are doing. In Texas, they had some flyers on their website that the employers could provide, just reminding employees to have face coverings. And then that's one just for the customers. We've just been looking at different options and social distancing reminders, like we said. Then U.S. Chamber has a customizable flyer where you can put in your logo, your contact information, and then different methods you're using to keep people safe, secure in a healthy environment, and creating a flexible workplace. So that's on the Chamber, U.S. Chamber website for a company to utilize. Then there's just my contact information. This is going to be an ongoing conversation to see how we reopen and what are some best practices. And if there's some that you see in around the country or in other countries, I encourage you to give me a call or send me an email to let me know of different methods or recommendations that you see out there that may be helpful for the City of Columbia. And then I'm not sure when the next task force will be scheduled, but we post those on our website, City of Columbia website at columbiasc.gov. So I encourage you to participate in those meetings, and just so you're knowledgeable of what's going on in our local community.
That's awesome, Ayesha. I appreciate you sharing your contact information. You know, like we said earlier, we're not here to try and speak on a little screen on your screen. We're here to add value, to connect you with the people that you need to be connected with. So if us as a chamber, as a small business council, as an individual, if I can help, if Ayesha can help, if any of us can help, please reach out. That's what we're here to do. We're here to add value. Please utilize the chat during this. If you have any questions for our panelists individually, please, if you have anything chamber specific or anything just in general, any questions at all, please utilize the chat. We'll be bouncing back and forth to that throughout. I'll kick it over to Bryant. Bryant, so we heard from Ayesha on a city level. On a county level, what are the conversations that you're having or that you're hearing? What's the most prevalent topic of conversation?
Yeah, Jared. So as kind of Ayesha alluded to, there's a lot right now that as a whole, I think we're all trying to process and understand. One of the points I was going to touch on from a county standpoint was, and Ayesha alluded to it earlier with the city in terms of funding for nonprofits and businesses, was the initial recognition was the impact that this was going to have on our economy here in Richland County. And so there was a very concerted effort for council and administration to come together and figure out a plan in a way that we could help businesses and organizations throughout the county. And so there was quite a bit of debate about what that would look like. This was post-CARES Act, so there was funding that was coming down the pipeline from the federal government for businesses, but what was that going to look like? How is that going to get to people? And the big concern was, who is it going to miss? And so we see a lot of conversation about the salons and barbershops and then our small mom and pop businesses that may not have even had an opportunity to get to that funding. So what does that look like for them? And you're talking about this in March, when I think the general population was thinking, well, maybe a couple weeks, this will kind of run its course and we'll kind of go back to work as normal, and that didn't happen. And so you're watching businesses and organizations trying to figure out how are we going to be able to move forward. And these are in the fabric of the county itself. These are people that have business licenses. These are people that provide services. They could be providing anything from shelter to transportation, whatever may have you. But those all are going to have an impact on our local city and county governments as well. And so the idea then was to look at a program and plan of spending right at $1 million, $500,000 for small businesses, $500,000 for nonprofits. And this is the first time the county has actually gone into a grant process for small businesses. And so we knew from Ayesha in the city's program, she mentioned you over 300 businesses that they provided funding to. We knew that this was going to be something that people were going to try to jump on, but we wanted to try to make that as easy as possible for them. And that business funding was looking at people that were trying to pay rent, utilities, keep the business open. From a nonprofit standpoint, it was more focused on, okay, are you providing some sort of COVID-related services to people? Is food, is it shelter? Are you helping people with transportation? Are you helping them specifically with any sort of rent, utilities, people that may be on the verge of losing an apartment or something? So I think one great thing that we were able to recommend from our department from the nonprofit side was we need to utilize our nonprofit organizations and let them do the work. These are organizations that provide shelter services, food services to people all the time. So let's find ways that they can directly reach out to the population of people and help them through this time. So that was, I think, the initial process of that. A lot of people go back into, okay, Richland County, what does this look like for you guys to reopen? Well, there are a lot of different factors in that part because if the county says we open up our doors on this date, does that mean that everybody assumes that everything's just okay? Not quite. There's a lot that goes into that. And so the county building right now is currently closed, but services are still being provided online. You can still call departments and still get things that you need done. But in structuring that to how you can safely let people back in a county building, safely let employees back in the building, have adequate PPE that you need in order for people to do things that they need to do. I'm not sure if many of you have been able to see, but our council's been doing, as well as the city's been doing, operating from a lot of Zoom meetings. And so there's still a factor that allows people to interact through public comments and stuff, which I think is very important. And so not to lose that facet of things going virtually, I think has been great in terms of that. But I think it's really just honestly a process. And I think more importantly, from you guys on this call, the businesses and organizations you work with, we need you guys' feedback in terms of what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you need to know, because that ultimately really facilitates how we move forward. We could say ourselves as a government, okay, we think that we're ready to do this, but it's been very evident that a lot of people are very cautious to go back, and there are very, very many reasons for people to have those reservations about that. So I think at this point, we've talked about a phased approach to coming back, but that's still in the works. And the county has developed a task force that includes our small business office, our risk management department, our ESD and emergency services that can go through the process of talking through what that will look like for us to come back. And then more importantly, how do we continue to provide services to everyone? And more importantly, how is this landscape going to continue to affect small businesses, nonprofits moving forward? So
I think there's one thing that's very evident, and I think it's going to be a process, right? This is not going to be just, oh yeah, tomorrow we're good to go, right? It's back to normal. So for people to stay in the loop and to have access to these things, where should we direct them, Bryant and Ayesha? Where is there a website? Is it a social media channel? What's the best way for people to stay involved or stay clued in and to be able to have access to these resources?
Well, I'll put our website in the chat box, but then also on our social media, if you follow City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, We post a lot through social media. Typically everything that we put on our website out of our OBO office, we also put on social media. So on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on LinkedIn as well. So I'll put that in the chat box for us.
Awesome, thanks.
For the county as well, I'm going to put some information for our department and for me specifically for any questions and concerns. We do have a grant office that is heading up a lot of the small business and nonprofit grants. However, we recognize the fact that that is one or two people leading that right now. So bombarding them with tons of random questions, we're able to kind of look at some information that we have in regards of questions that people have already asked and kind of make sure, hey, if this is something that we can answer for you, we can do that very quickly. And then if it's something that we need to reach out to them for, we can definitely do that. But I'm going to include my information in the chat here as well too. And so that way, if there are any questions or anything, I can be happy to shoot that information you guys' way.
Awesome. Audra, are we good in the chat? Do we have anything in the chat?
We do not have any questions right now, but if you guys have any questions for Bryant or Ayesha, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat and Jared will get to your question.
So I think we got time for one more question, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. I think during all of this, obviously there's a lot of applications. Is what I'm hearing. There's a lot. When we're talking loans, we're talking different paperwork. I'll kick it to you, Bryant, and then we'll close with Ayesha. What are some of the common mistakes that you guys are seeing that may be preventable? I know, Ayesha, you briefly mentioned P&L statements being in order. Bryant, what are you seeing that may be preventable for business owners moving forward that maybe they just didn't know, or maybe it's a checkbox that's being overlooked or something? What are some of the common mistakes you're seeing?
I think it's very similar to what Ayesha is seeing. I think for our small businesses, I think we've kind of assumed, when I fill this out, I'm just going to have a couple of questions that I'm going to answer very quickly and move forward. And we're seeing that a tremendous amount of people just don't have access to all the information, or they're unsure of how to put the information together to basically submit with their application. And so the first thing that I've shared with people is, if you are submitting an application for Richland County grants and you get stuck on something, please contact us before you hit submit on that, because that application process will take whatever you're submitting in there, but it doesn't mean it's correct. And so we're having screeners go through the information. They're immediately going, this isn't correct, this isn't correct. And so before they've even had the opportunity to see whether they can assess whether you need help or not, they're already moving those aside. So I think the most important thing is, if you don't understand a part on that or unsure what to do, contact our office before you go through the process of filling that all out. We also are seeing that there are not a lot of nonprofits. So if you guys could just share the word with nonprofits that are either providing some sort of essential service, if they're helping impoverished or marginalized communities, please let them know. There are definitely opportunities for them, but we are still accepting them for businesses. Of course, that's bigger, but the big thing there is, please, if you don't understand or unsure, I'd rather you ask questions 15 times and us make sure you get it right than to submit it and it be wrong and trying to go back to the process of correcting that.
Ayesha, you're on mute.
Thank you. I said something really great too.
I believe it.
One of the biggest things, which I think is one of the simplest fixes, is not having a City of Columbia business license. If you're located in the city or you are doing business in the city, you must have a City of Columbia business license. And to receive funding from the city, one of the requirements, other than your business being located, was you had to have a City of Columbia business license. So of course we were able to work with those businesses to make sure they could get it, but that's a big one. Like I mentioned, the profit and loss statement was a big one. And it didn't have to be anything really technical, but we need to know what's your revenue, what are your expenditures, so we can determine where can we help you. If you need help with your rent, you need to make sure you show us what your rent is. So, and then another thing with taxes, making sure companies understand you can't always operate at a loss. There may be reasons, tax reasons, why you say there's a loss, but if you are asking someone to invest in your company, you need to show that it's a viable company. So that's a thin line you need to make sure that you're aware of to show that there is some profit, some type of profit, to show that the business is viable. So those are definitely some of the things I'm thinking, like a business one-on-one class we need to have. Just go back to the basics. Maybe we'll call it back to the basics. I don't know. I'm brainstorming right now as we talk, just to kind of go over some of those things, because we definitely want our small businesses to be able to take advantage of the funding that's out there, and we don't want small things to prevent them from benefiting from this funding. So we definitely see what the needs are, and we'll be working hard over the next couple of weeks to try to provide some resources to that effect.
Awesome. And I wrote that down, back to basics, so we might have a little topic of discussion for our next council meeting on how we can incorporate that into a breakout. I think that's a great idea. However we can add value to small business here in the community. That is our goal. Shameless plug though, if you need help with your taxes or P&L statement, I see David Belton is a council member who is also in the chat or in the breakout right now. I'm sure that he would be more than willing, him and his team would be more than willing to help. Also, we have Nick Annan with Elliott Davis, who's also on the council, plus many more tax advisors and resources for you at the chamber. So like we said, however we can add value to you, please reach out, please get in contact with us, whether it's one of our council members or one of the chamber staff members. We're here to help you. So however we can do that. I want to open it up to everybody. Does anybody have a question?
Yashica has raised her hand, so I'll unmute her so she can ask her question.
Good morning, everybody. Actually, it wasn't a question. It was actually just to let Ayesha know that the back to basics for businesses, that's a great idea. Although this is like my second or third one that I've jumped into, but sometimes we do skip some of the basics when we're so eager to get in and get started that we do overlook some of the things. And I'm in a SBA group on Facebook, and one of the issues with smaller businesses when trying to apply for the PPP and the EIDL was just that paperwork not being in order, and it's a demographic of us that kind of skip that part. So I just wanted to tell you that that'll be an awesome idea. However you guys plan to do it, to do that back to basics with that profit and loss, the analysis, and those things that you will actually need when a situation like this occurs. Hopefully we won't have a situation like this again, but I'd rather be prepared for it and not need it than to need it and not be prepared. And I have found that in the several groups that I'm in, it's more of us who are not prepared than the ones that are.
Love the feedback, and that's a good segue or a good topic to talk about our next breakout. We really want to have some feedback from you guys about how, we've had to pivot as a council, the chamber itself has had to pivot, Splash as an organization has had to pivot, just like all of yours. So we want to talk about how can we add value now? What can we do to pivot our breakouts and our topics of discussion to help you guys, whether it's connecting you with individuals or educating you on certain topics or information. So next week, that is what we're aiming to do, or we're working on the format. We'll have a council meeting to discuss kind of what we think we should go over, but we really want to connect to everyone, reconnect Columbia. That's what we've been pushing. Also check out the Reconnect Columbia playbook published by the chamber on how we can get business started back. But that's what we're looking at next month, is how can we connect everyone again? How can we get the ball rolling? So go ahead and mark your calendars for that. Audra, do you remember what the date was exactly?
It would be June 16th.
June 16th for our next breakout. So go ahead and mark your calendars, invite someone, bring someone. Our goal is to connect as many individuals. It's going to be very much of a conversational breakout format. So we're going to have multiple different breakout sessions with questions prompted to just spark conversation and help you build those connections. I want to, I guess, open it back up to the floor. Does anybody have a question? Anybody have any questions or suggestions?
I don't have
that
a
we
question, Jared.
Mhm.
This is Henry. I don't have a question, but on Friday, the federal government sent out instructions on to get loan forgiveness for the PPP. And there are instructions, and there's also the application for the loan forgiveness as well. Ayesha mentioned that people are afraid to even touch it. We're going to post that on our website, and I'm sure it will be on other websites as well. But we'll post that from the SBA on how to get loan forgiveness and the instruction for how to fill out the application for loan forgiveness.
Awesome. We're a resource. The chamber is a resource. Please reach out. Whatever question, you don't have to ask it in the open. If you have questions and you don't feel like asking, you can't ask now. There's plenty of council members that drop their information. There's chamber staff members that you can reach out to. We're here to help. So if you need help, or if you have a client that needs help, the chamber is a resource for you. We're here to add value. I want to thank all of the council members that are in attendance to help put this together. Our two council members, Bryant and Ayesha, that provided a lot of value for us and information today. That's it from me. If anybody else has any questions or anything, James, I saw that you just put that. Yeah, you can save the chat. If you open the chat up and you click the three little dots next to it, you can save all of the conversation that's in the chat. So if you need to save someone's contact information, easy way to do it. All you have to do is just open the chat and click the three dots to the right. That'll give you the option to save the chat, so you can save the people's information that you might need. Remember, June 16th, we'll be back next month. Unless you guys have anything else, that's all for me. Henry, Audra, chamber staff, we thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming, being in attendance, and we hope to see you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.